So the Fujifilm GFX100RF has just been announced, and I just wanted to share with you guys my thoughts as someone who uses Fuji gear and someone who's been around the block and uses Fujifilm gear extensively. I thought this camera is interesting, sort of. I don't have a camera, unfortunately. I guess I'm not one of the cool kids who got early access. Fuji, send me early access to your cameras, please. I promise to not bash your autofocusing system anymore. Please. Because otherwise, I'm switching to Sony. I'll do it, man. I'll freaking do it. Anyways, let's just start with what I really like about this camera, and that it's a pretty looking camera. The aesthetics of this camera is really good looking, in my opinion. It looks like a chunky Fujifilm X106. So I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to be swooning for this camera already. The silver one looks pretty snazzy. I saw some of these YouTubers with the silver ones with the lens hood on, and my God, it looks beautiful. It looks like a beautiful camera, you guys. You got those cool dials that people like from the Fujifilm X106 as well. However, it does not have the hybrid OVF viewfinder like you do in the Fujifilm X106, which could be a bummer for some of you guys. And it's the first GFX camera that doesn't look like a GFX camera, in my opinion. The GFX 100 Mark II and the 100S Mark II all have like bulky, professional DSLR-like body, whereas this just looks more like a casual camera, like a film-like camera. Honestly, I just think it looks cool. Even though it's a little bit square, it looks more like an Instax to me. Like the Fujifilm X106, this camera is also a fixed lens camera. So the GFX100RF features a new Fujinon lens, the 35mm f4 fixed focal length lens with a constant f4 aperture developed exclusively for the GFX100RF. It also adopts a leaf shutter system instead of that focal plane shutter system. The back focus distance has been shortened to achieve a significant reduction in overall size of the lens. The 35mm f4 in full frame terms gives you about a 28mm field of view and around f3.5 if I'm not mistaken. I just wish that it was a faster lens. I wish the aperture was a little bit faster. Then that would be a sick ass camera. You also have a dedicated dial for certain aspect ratios and crop modes. It has 100 megapixel sensor, and I've used the sensor before. I know that it's going to take some stunning images, sharp, and the colors are just going to be fantastic. It also uses the same processor that is found on the XH2S, the XT5, the XS20, which is the X-Trans Processor 5. Now, I don't know if that says much because Fuji markets the processor as being able to, do high-speed, high-precision autofocus. However, it is a medium format camera, and if it's anything like the GFX 100 Mark II that I've used last year, I think it's going to be average at best. But the excuse here is that it's a medium format camera, so you're just going to have to accept that it's going to be a little bit slower than a full frame camera or even an APS-C camera. It also has a dual SD card slot. It also has an internal 4-stop ND filter inside. However, it doesn't have IBIS. Well, why doesn't it have IBIS? That's a little bit weird considering the cost of this thing. The reason why I say this is because they put image stabilization in the Fujifilm X106. So if they were to follow that camera, wouldn't they want to put in the IBIS as well? I don't know, man. Because of its 100 megapixel sensor, you can take advantage of it by using, these digital teleconverter to crop in and still have that resolution. That's what they're marketing this camera as, for you to crop in and not use the full sensor. You can punch in and get a 45mm, 63mm, and 80mm field of view. It also has that 3-way tilt LCD touchscreen, and it can do 4K 30p. So it looks like a fun, expensive camera. However, I know for sure that this camera isn't for me. The f4 in this lens is slow. It means you're not going to get that bokeh. So for anyone wanting that background separation, just forget about it. It also has no IBIS, meaning that it's going to be challenging in low light situations. With its f4 lens, you're going to have to crank that ISO from that 100 megapixel sensor. If you keep your ISO low to minimize the noise you would get in low light situation, that means that you're going to have to slow down your shutter speed, and chances are you're going to run into motion blur because it doesn't have IBIS. Now, although I do like the convenience of the teleconverter to crop in, once you start cropping in, you're not going to be using that medium format sensor anymore. And for me, using the the full sensor is what's going to give you that medium format look. And using a faster lens, like something like the GF110mm f2, the 80mm f1.7, or even like the 63mm f2.8. Why can't they just give you a 2.8? Combined with the full sensor of a medium format camera from the GFX and its faster lens options, it gives you that unique look that I don't get from any other cameras that I've seen. So once you start cropping in aggressively like you do here, it changes the way that it looks. So it's kind of funny because now you're not using the full sensor anymore. You're cropping in. You may crop into like an APS-C crop or even like a micro four thirds crop. Sure, you know, it's cool that you have resolution left over, but now you're just getting a small section out of its entire sensor, and that to me is where I don't think this camera's for me. I just don't see anyone using this camera. Maybe why not just get like a full frame camera or even a APS-C camera? So anyways, the camera looks like a fun camera for some users, but it's gonna be a no for me. Like for sure it's gonna be a no for me. $5,000 for an f4 lens with no IBIS, no OVF, no CF Express Type B card is a whole lot of cheddar. It's expensive, man. And what is that? That's like $7,000 in Canadian dollars, and I'm like crying in Canadian dollars because $7,000 plus tax on it. You're looking at all close to like $8,000. $8,000, man. It's gonna be a lot of money. It's gonna be a lot of money, and this is a fixed lens camera, so you're going to be stuck at this 35mm focal length. Now, hopefully, there are third-party companies who are going to, you know, make those teleconverters that you see that they made on like the Fujifilm X100R, where you can just screw it on, so you can get different focal lengths. So we'll see how that goes. But although it looks really, really pretty, it looks totally like different. I just feel as though that is not enough to entice me. But yeah. What are your thoughts on this camera? What do you think? Are you going to get the GFX100RF? Let me know in the comments below, and consider subscribing for more Fujifilm content. And thanks so much.